Alec Guinness sees James Dean's brand new Porsche 550 Spyder gleaming under the Hollywood streetlights and stops cold. Something about the car makes his skin crawl. He looks at the 24-year-old actor's excited face, then back at the silver machine, and says something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Please, never get in it. If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week. What happens in the next 7 days doesn't just fulfill a chilling prophecy. It creates one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries and reminds us that sometimes the universe sends warnings we're too young or too confident to hear. Hollywood, California. Friday, September 23, 1955. 10 p.m. The Villa Capri restaurant on McCadden Place sits tucked between Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard, on a converted Spanish-style house that Frank Sinatra made famous by eating there 4 nights a week. The exterior is unassuming: white stucco walls, red tile roof, a simple neon sign that says Villa Capri in script. But inside, it's where Hollywood's real business happens. The dinner business, the deals made over Chianti and cigarettes, the place where careers are born and destroyed between the antipasto and the tiramisu. The main dining room is intimate, maybe 20 tables. Red leather booths line the walls, checkered tablecloths, candles in wine bottles dripping wax in layers of different colors. The walls are covered with autographed photos of stars: Sinatra and Ava Gardner, Bogart and Bacall. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, or wants to. The air is thick with the smell of garlic sautéing in olive oil, marinara sauce simmering, fresh basil, red wine being poured into glasses the size of goldfish bowls, and underneath it all, the ever-present smell of cigarette smoke. Everybody smokes, between courses, during courses. Some people smoke instead of eating. The smoke hangs in golden halos under the dim lighting, creating a dreamy, film noir atmosphere that makes everyone look mysterious and important. The restaurant buzzes with Friday night energy. At one table, a studio executive is pitching a biblical epic to a director who's only half listening. At another, a young actress is laughing too loud at a producer's jokes, her desperation visible to everyone but herself. The bar is 3 deep with people waiting for tables. The clink of glasses, the scrape of silverware against plates. On the murmur of conversations where deals are being made and hearts are being broken. The sounds of people who've made it or are about to make it, or think they are. Outside, the September heat is finally breaking. The temperature has been in the 90s all week, that oppressive Southern California heat that makes the smog worse and tempers short. But tonight, there's a breeze. The kind of California evening that makes you want to be young and alive and moving fast. The kind of night where anything seems possible. James Dean sits at a corner table, unable to contain his excitement. 24 years old, 5'8", 135 pounds, wearing a white t-shirt under a red windbreaker. His hair is carefully disheveled in that style that's becoming his trademark. The hair that teenage girls are already copying on their boyfriends. He's wearing his glasses, black-framed, which he usually takes off for photographs, but wears when he's just being himself. 3 months ago, East of Eden opened to critical acclaim. Critics called his performance revolutionary. Method acting brought to mainstream cinema. His face is everywhere now. Magazine covers, teen magazines. They're calling him the next Brando, the next Montgomery Clift. He hates the comparisons. He's not the next anybody. He's the first James Dean. Warner Brothers just finished shooting Rebel Without a Cause. Giant wrapped last week, 3 major films in 1 year. James Dean isn't just a rising star. He's a supernova. But tonight, he's not talking about films. Tonight, he's talking about his car, the Porsche 550 Spyder he picked up from Competition Motors this morning. Serial number 55-0-0055. Yeah, he had it customized, painted it silver, had his racing number 130 painted on the hood and doors. And across the back, in elegant script, His friend Bill Hickman had written, "Little Bastard," the nickname Dean's uncle gave him as a kid. The mechanics thought he was crazy, spending $7,000 on a race car. That's more than most people make in 2 years. But Dean doesn't care. He's been obsessed with speed since he was a kid, racing motorcycles since he was 15. The Porsche isn't just a car to him. It's freedom, it's power, it's proof he made it out. That farm kid from Indiana now owns a $7,000 race car. That's everything. Alec Guinness walks into the Villa Capri with a colleague, 41 years old, British, distinguished, an actor's actor. He's in Hollywood filming The Swan with Grace Kelly. Back in England, he's respected. Here, he's just another foreign actor trying to navigate Hollywood's strange waters. He's wearing a simple gray suit, tie loosened, the formal British reserve that makes Americans think he's cold when really he's just observing, taking everything in. He has this quality, this sensitivity that makes him notice things others miss. He believes in intuition, in listening to feelings that don't make logical sense. His mother was Irish, raised him on stories of premonitions and second sight. He doesn't talk about it much. People think you're mad if you admit to such things. But he's learned to trust these feelings. Guinness and his companion are waiting for their table when James Dean spots them. Dean recognizes him from bridge on the River Kwai photographs he saw in a magazine. He jumps up from his booth, all energy and enthusiasm. No self-consciousness despite his rising fame. That's one of the things people love about Dean. No pretense, no Hollywood phoniness. He's still the kid from Indiana who gets excited about things. "Mr. Guinness," Dean says, extending his hand. "James Dean, huge admirer of your work. I saw the Lavender Hill Mob 3 times. Guinness smiles, shakes the young man's hand. There's something magnetic about Dean in person, that quality that cameras capture, but that's even more powerful face-to-face. The intensity in his eyes, the way he focuses completely on whoever he's talking to. "Thank you," Guinness says in his measured British accent. "I've heard wonderful things about your performance in East of Eden. Everyone in England is talking about it." Dean grins, embarrassed but pleased. Then his excitement takes over. "Hey, you've got to see something. Come outside for just a minute. I want to show you my new car. Just got it this morning." Guinness hesitates. He's hungry, tired from a long day of shooting. But there's something about Dean's enthusiasm that's hard to resist. "All right," he says, "just for a moment." They walk outside into the warm September night. The street is quiet. A few parked cars, the distant sound of traffic on Sunset Boulevard. And there, parked directly under a streetlight like it's on stage, sits the Porsche 550 Spyder. Silver metal, gleaming, low to the ground, aggressive, beautiful, dangerous. Dean walks to the car like a proud father showing off his newborn. Isn't she beautiful? 550 Spyder, 4-cam Furman engine, 110 horsepower, weighs 1,370 pounds. That power-to-weight ratio is insane. I'm racing her at Salinas tomorrow. This car can do 150 miles per hour easy. He runs his hand along the hood, traces the number 130 painted there. I had her customized, everything I wanted. The mechanic said I was crazy to race before Giant comes out, but I can't wait. I've been dreaming about a car like this my whole life. Guinness stands there, looking at the Porsche. And something happens. Something he'll try to explain for years afterward, but never quite capture in words. A feeling washes over him. Cold, heavy, like a shadow passing over the sun. The hair on his arms stands up. His stomach tightens. He's looking at the car, and all he can see is death. Not metaphorically, actually, like the car is radiating it. He doesn't believe in premonitions, or he tells himself he doesn't. But this feeling is undeniable, overwhelming. Dean is talking about acceleration and handling, but Guinness isn't listening. He's staring at this beautiful machine and feeling something ancient and knowing in his bones. Finally, Dean stops talking, notices the expression on Guinness's face. "What's wrong?" Guinness looks from the car to this young man. This boy, really? 24 years old? His whole life ahead of him. 3 films about to make him immortal. And Guinness knows with absolute certainty, that if James Dean gets in this car, he will die. The street is quiet. The moment stretches. Dean is looking at him expectantly, still smiling but starting to sense something's off. Guinness makes a decision. He has to say something, even if it makes him sound crazy. Even if Dean laughs at him, he has to at least try. "Please," Guinness says, and his voice is serious in a way that makes Dean's smile fade. "Please, never get in it." He pauses, looks at his watch, makes note of the time because somehow that feels important. It's now 10 o'clock, Friday the 23rd of September, 1955. If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week. The words hang in the air between them. Dean stares at him. The street is so quiet, you can hear the traffic light clicking through its cycle 3 blocks away. Inside the restaurant, someone laughs. Out here, 2 men stand beside a silver sports car, and the universe has just spoken through one of them. Dean's first reaction is confusion. Then he thinks maybe this British actor is making some kind of dark joke. Then he sees Guinness's face and realizes this man is completely serious. "I mean it," Guinness continues, his voice urgent now. "I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm not a superstitious person, but I'm looking at this car, and I feel it. Something terrible. Please don't drive it." Dean takes a step back, laughs nervously. "Come on, man, that's pretty heavy." Guinness nods. "I know how it sounds. I wouldn't have said anything except the feeling is so strong. I had to at least warn you." Dean looks at his car. Back at Guinness. He doesn't know what to make of this. Some British actor he just met is telling him he's going to die in his brand new Porsche, the car he's been saving for, dreaming about, planning to race. "Look," Dean says, trying to lighten the mood. "I appreciate the concern, but I'm a good driver. Been racing for years. This car is probably the safest thing I own because I respect what it can do." Guinness shakes his head. "Yeah, it's not about being a good driver. It's about the car itself. There's something wrong with it, something I can't explain but can feel." Dean runs his hand through his hair. Doesn't know what to say. He likes Guinness, respects him, but this is crazy talk. "I don't believe in that stuff," Dean says finally. "Premonitions and bad feelings. I believe in skill and preparation and living while you're alive." Guinness looks at the young man for a long moment. Knows he's not going to convince him. How could he? Dean is 24, invincible, at the peak of his powers, the world at his feet. And Guinness is asking him to give up something he loves because of a feeling. A British actor's weird vibe about a German sports car on a Hollywood street. It's absurd. But Guinness had to try. "All right," Guinness says quietly. "I've said what I needed to say. I hope I'm wrong. I truly do." They stand there for another moment, the prophecy delivered, the warning given. Then they walk back into the restaurant and try to pretend the last 5 minutes didn't happen. Inside the Villa Capri, Dean returns to his table. His friends ask what took so long. He tells them about the encounter, tries to make it sound like a weird Hollywood moment, some British actor getting spooked by his race car. They laugh, but Dean is quieter for the rest of the meal. Guinness's words rattling around in his head. "By this time next week." 7 days. That's such a specific prediction. Not vague. Exact. 10 o'clock. Friday, September 30th. You will be found dead. Dean shakes it off, orders another glass of Chianti, talks about tomorrow's race, the Porsche's capabilities. By the time dinner ends, and he's convinced himself Guinness was just being dramatic. Nothing to worry about. Saturday, September 24th. Day 1. Dean wakes early in his rented house. Today he's driving the Porsche to Salinas for tomorrow's race, about 300 miles north. He could trailer it, but what's the point of owning a Porsche if you don't drive it? His mechanic, Rolf Wutterich, is coming. German guy, 28, knows these cars inside out. Bill Hickman follows in Dean's Ford wagon with the equipment. They set out around 1:30 p.m. The Porsche handles like a dream. This is what he lives for: speed, freedom, the road ahead. They stop in Bakersfield. Then around 3:30 p.m., near Mettler, Highway Patrol pulls him over. Speeding ticket. 65 in a 55. The officer recognizes him, gets an autograph. Dean promises to slow down. They reach Paso Robles by evening, check into a motel. Dean lies in bed thinking about the race, not about prophecies. Just about that first lap, that feeling of the Porsche responding perfectly. This is living. Sunday, September 25th. Day 2. Race day at Salinas Airport. Dean doesn't win, finishes second in his class, but he's learning the car, how hard he can push it. After the race, he's exhilarated. The Porsche performed perfectly. He's already signed up for next month's race. This is going to be his thing: acting and racing. Why choose both? Monday through Thursday, September 26th to 29th. Days 3 through 6. Back in Los Angeles. Back to being James Dean. Meetings with Warner Brothers about his next film. They want another Rebel picture. Dean isn't sure, doesn't want to be typecast. Between meetings, he's at Competition Motors, talking about the Porsche. At about the next race, October 1st to 2nd, Wutterich is making minor adjustments. Fine-tuning. Dean loves this stuff. The technical challenge, acting and racing both require absolute commitment. Both can kill you if you're not careful. Thursday night. Day 6. Tomorrow is Friday the 30th. Dean hasn't thought about Alec Guinness in days. The prophecy is just a weird memory now. But tonight, packing for tomorrow's drive, he hesitates. Looks at the calendar. September 30th. 1 week? Exactly 1 week. He shakes his head. Superstition. He's driven the Porsche all week. Raced it. Nothing happened. Nothing's going to happen. Tomorrow, leaving at 1:30 p.m. Should reach Salinas by dinner. Rest? Race Saturday. Everything's planned. Everything's fine. He goes to bed, sleeps well, dreams of racing, of winning. Young, alive, invincible. And they set out around 1:30 p.m. on Friday, September 30th. Day 7. The day Guinness said Dean would be found dead. But Dean doesn't think about that. He's thinking about the road, about getting to Salinas, about the race tomorrow. The weather is perfect, clear, warm, not too hot, just right. Wutterich is in the passenger seat. Hickman is behind them in the Ford wagon. They're taking Highway 99 north, then cutting west on Route 466, the scenic route. Dean is relaxed, wearing his red windbreaker, jeans, boots, sunglasses against the afternoon glare. The Porsche is running beautifully, purring, responsive, every gear change smooth, every turn perfect. At Bakersfield, they stop for gas and a Coke. Dean signs a few autographs. People recognize him, ask about his movies. He's gracious, patient. Then they're back on the road. Around 3:30 p.m., but near Mettler, they pass the spot where Dean got his speeding ticket last week. He smiles, remembers the young officer, keeps it at 60. No tickets today. By 5 p.m., they're on Route 466, approaching the junction with Route 41. The sun is getting lower. Golden hour. That beautiful California light that photographers love. Everything looks like it's been dipped in honey. The road ahead shimmers. Heat waves rising from the asphalt. Dean is feeling good. Talking to Wutterich about the race, about their strategy, about how to get the most out of the Porsche tomorrow. They're doing maybe 55, 60 miles per hour. Not speeding, just cruising, enjoying the drive. Up ahead, at the intersection of Route 466 and Route 41, a black-and-white 1950 Ford Tudor sedan is approaching from the opposite direction. The driver is Donald Turnipseed, 23 years old, and a student at Cal Poly. He's on his way home from classes, needs to turn left onto Route 41. He looks both ways. The road appears clear. The sun is in his eyes. That golden light that makes everything beautiful also makes it hard to judge distance. And the Porsche, low and silver, blends into the shimmering road. Turnipseed thinks he has time, starts his turn. Dean sees it, the Ford pulling across his lane. For a split second, he doesn't believe it. The guy has to see them, has to stop. Witherick sees it too. That guy's got to stop, Dean says. He'll see us. But Turnipseed doesn't stop, doesn't see them, or sees them too late. Dean has maybe 2 seconds to react, 2 seconds to process what's happening, 2 seconds to try to avoid the collision. He hits the brakes. Hard. The Porsche's tires scream. He tries to turn and to get around the Ford's rear. But there's not enough time, not enough space. The Porsche is going too fast. The Ford is too close. The geometry is impossible. The sound is terrible. Metal tearing, glass shattering, the high-pitched shriek of aluminum crumpling. The Porsche hits the Ford's passenger side. The low, light Porsche goes under the Ford's frame. The hood crumples like paper. The car accordions. Witherick is thrown clear, ejected over the low windscreen. Lands on the road. Broken jaw, crushed leg, but alive, conscious, in shock. Dean isn't thrown clear. Dean is trapped. The steering column drives backward into his chest. Multiple internal injuries. The force is massive, immediate, catastrophic. Turnipseed's Ford spins, ends up on the side of the road. Turnipseed climbs out, dazed. Minor injuries, bruises. Doesn't even realize at first how bad it is. Then he sees the Porsche, or what's left of it. The silver metal twisted into something unrecognizable. And he sees the driver still inside. An ambulance is called. Takes time. This is rural California. 1955. No cell phones. Someone has to get to a phone. Make the call. Wait. Passing motorists stop. Try to help. A man named Tom Frederick stops. Looks at the wreck. Looks at Dean. Knows immediately this is very bad. Witherick is crying out in German. In pain. In shock, asking about Dean. Someone tries to comfort him. The ambulance arrives. Ambulance attendant Paul Moreno approaches the Porsche, looks at Dean. Knows, you can tell, the way the body is positioned, the injuries, the stillness. But they have to try, have to transport him, have to do everything possible. And they rush him to Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital, 6 miles away. Dean is pronounced dead on arrival at 6:20 p.m., 24 years old, September 30th, 1955. 3 films completed, 7 days after Alec Guinness told him he would be found dead in that car. The exact time matters. Guinness said, by this time next week. He made his prophecy at 10 p.m. on September 23rd. Dean died at 6:20 p.m. on September 30th. Not exactly 1 week to the hour, but within the 7-day window. The prophecy said, found dead, not will die. Found dead. The distinction matters. Dean might have died instantly in the crash, might have been dead before the ambulance arrived. Found dead. Guinness's words were precise, horrifyingly precise. The news hits Hollywood like a bomb. Saturday evening, September 30th, 1955. James Dean is dead, killed in his Porsche. The same Porsche he was so excited about just 1 week ago. Warner Brothers is in shock. Giant hasn't been released yet. Rebel Without a Cause premieres in 3 weeks. East of Eden made him a star, but these next 2 films will make him a legend. And now he's gone. The studio has to decide how to handle this. Meanwhile, in his hotel room, Alec Guinness hears the news. Someone tells him about the crash. The Porsche 550 Spyder, Highway 466, 6:20 p.m. He looks at his watch. It's after 10 p.m. He remembers standing on that Hollywood street exactly 7 days ago. By this time next week. He said those words, looked at his watch, made note of the time and date. And now, 7 days later, down to the hour, James Dean is dead in that silver Porsche. Guinness feels sick. He told people about his warning, his premonition. Now they're calling him, asking how he knew. He doesn't have an answer. He didn't know. He felt. Something primal and ancient that humans have mostly lost touch with. That ability to sense danger, to feel death approaching. He tried to warn Dean. But how do you convince a 24-year-old invincible movie star to give up his dream car because a British actor has a bad feeling? The story spreads. Guinness's prophecy becomes legend. Some people think he made it up after the fact, enhanced the details. But there were witnesses, people at the Villa Capri that night who heard Dean talking about the weird British actor who said he'd die in a week. Friends Dean told about the encounter. Guinness himself will tell the story many times over the years, always with the same details. The date, the time, the exact words he used. In interviews decades later, he's still haunted by it. "I had this most extraordinary feeling," he'll say. "I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a mystic, I'm not psychic, but I was absolutely certain that if that boy got in that car, he would die." The Porsche itself takes on a cursed reputation. After the accident, George Barris, the famous car customizer, buys the wreck, plans to restore it. But weird things start happening. The car falls off its trailer and breaks a mechanic's legs. Parts sold from it seem to bring bad luck. 2 doctors buy the engine and transmission. Both die in racing accidents. The tires are sold. The car they're put on blows both tires simultaneously. The garage where the wreck is stored burns down. Everything is destroyed except the Porsche. Finally, in 1960, while being transported to a safety exhibit, the Porsche disappears. Just vanishes. Never seen again, like it knew its purpose was served, like it took James Dean and then erased itself from existence. But the real legacy of that September night isn't about cursed cars or fulfilled prophecies. It's about the fragility of life, the randomness of death, the warnings we ignore because we're young and alive and convinced we're invincible. James Dean had everything: talent, fame, the world at his feet. 7 days. That's all that separated him from Guinness's warning and the crash. 168 hours. What did he do with them? He raced, he drove, he lived. He did exactly what he wanted to do. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not that he should have listened to Guinness. Not that he should have sold the Porsche and bought a safer car. Maybe the lesson is that James Dean lived more in his 24 years than most people do in 80. He made 3 films that changed American cinema. He became an icon. He drove fast cars and kissed beautiful women and acted with passion and intensity and didn't waste a single moment playing it safe. Alec Guinness tried to save him, but maybe James Dean didn't want to be saved. Maybe he knew on some level that his time was short, that he needed to burn bright and fast. Leave something behind that would last. And he did. 3 films, a legend, an image frozen in time of youth and rebellion and living without compromise. When people talk about James Dean now, they always mention his death, the crash, the Porsche, the prophecy. But that's not who he was. He was a kid from Indiana who wanted to act, who studied his craft, who brought something new and raw and real to the screen, who inspired generations of actors to dig deeper. Be more honest. Marlon Brando said Dean was too good, too soon. Montgomery Clift refused to attend his funeral, couldn't handle losing someone he saw as a younger brother. Elizabeth Taylor, who worked with him on Giant, said making that film was like watching light itself. That's what we should remember, not the death, the life, the work. The way he transformed American acting in 3 films and 24 years. Alec Guinness carried the weight of that September night for the rest of his life. He became Obi-Wan Kenobi, won an Oscar, was knighted, had a legendary career. But he never forgot standing on that Hollywood street, looking at a silver Porsche and feeling death. He tried to intervene, tried to change fate, and failed. Or maybe he didn't fail. Maybe he gave James Dean one last chance to choose. And Dean chose the Porsche, chose speed, chose living. And in doing that, he chose his legacy. So here's the question that matters. If you knew you had 7 days left, would you play it safe? Or would you do exactly what James Dean did? Get in the car, drive fast, live completely. Because warnings come in many forms, prophecies from British actors, doctors telling us to slow down, loved ones begging us to be careful, and we have to decide whether to listen, whether safety is more important than living. Dean made his choice. Whether it was the right one, we'll never know. But we know this. 70 years later, we're still talking about him, still watching his films, still inspired by someone who refused to compromise, who lived at full speed until speed caught up with him. Maybe that's not a tragedy. Maybe that's exactly how James Dean wanted it. Fast, young, forever 24, forever racing towards something just beyond the horizon. Who in your life is trying to warn you about something? What prophecy are you ignoring because it's inconvenient or scary or asks you to give up something you love? Because sometimes the universe sends warnings, and sometimes we're too young or too confident or too in love with speed to listen. James Dean taught us how to live. Alec Guinness tried to teach us when to stop. Both lessons matter. The question is which one you'll choose when your 7 days begin.